Hi everybody, I'm Haley.
And I'm Kayli.
And today we're reviewing Memento.
Ooh, yes. This time, we're talking about my favorite movie. Last time, we talked about Donnie Darko, which is one of Haley's favorite movies. Mm-hmm. And this time, we're talking about mine. Should I talk about why I picked this? Or what are we talking about first?
Why the hell did you even recommend this 2000s movie? Yes.
This 2000 movie. So the reason why I picked Memento. Okay, so let's go back into what I was thinking for this, okay? So I was having a hard time trying to come up with a movie.
Okay.
Because I don't know the answer to that question. What's your favorite movie of all time? I think that's what we talked about last time too.
Very, very, very confusing.
It is. I mean, my dad was like, well, okay, let's say you can only watch one movie for the rest of your life. You can still watch shows, but what movie would that be? I'm
Nothing. Like, I don't want to do that. I literally hate watching movies. If I've seen it once, I watch movies like once every 2 years. I'm like, what a great movie. And I watch it again like 2 years later.
Yeah.
I'm not like you people. Damn. Those with long attention spans and you just pretend like you didn't see it. I'm like, I love this part. I'm like, oh, but we know what it is. What's wrong with y'all?
I mean, I love rewatching shows like Bob's Burgers. I've been on an SVU kick. I've been on that.
I feel like that's different because like The Office, like I've rewatched episodes of The Office like all the time, but it's like a whole movie. You want me to sit there for the whole movie?
Anyway,
sorry. Okay, we're done.
So I was considering Half Baked, Lost Boys, Grease, Heathers, Drop Dead Fred was a really strong contender.
Not Grease. Not ashamed of who, cause I need. What's that? That movie's problematic. We'll get to that another day.
Anyways, I really like that one.
So problematic.
But the reason why I was looking at those movies is because they're tinged with nostalgia. I remember specifically watching them with my family and like those being movies that they really enjoyed and they wanted to show me. But I ended up going with Memento because this was probably my first time experiencing like a truly like mind-bending movie. And it's especially because whenever it's pitched to you as like this movie is told backwards or like the story is backwards, it's intriguing. You're like, what does that even mean? Is it all in reverse? Anyways, but another reason why I really like it is because this is one of the few movies that me and my best friend really enjoy together. My best friend, Alasia, she doesn't like horror movies. I do. And so finding movies that we both could like back in the day was really hard. But this one and Identity were like the two movies that we could really get into. And they were like thriller mysteries. So we had a good time. There was one specific scene that we kept rewatching in Memento. And that's when Leonard is driving and that guy behind him is like beeping and honking at him. And then they pull up side by side and Leonard's like, what the fuck? And the guy pulls a gun and he just pulls off. We kept rewatching that part over and over again. But yeah, the reason why I picked it is because of those reasons. Those reasons. That's the reason why I picked Memento. But yes.
Okay.
So, I guess we'll get into the synopsis.
Yes.
I get to talk more. Memento is a time-bending mystery about a man seeking vengeance. Our vengeful hero, Leonard, is looking for the man responsible for the death of his wife. Solving a murder mystery is hard enough, but Leonard is trying to solve it on expert mode. You see, the day that his wife was murdered, Lenny suffered a brain injury that doesn't allow him to make new memories. So, equipped with weirdo tattoos, a system of Polaroids and notes, and an incomplete police file, Leonard embarks on a journey of vengeance. As we go along, Lenny learns that facts are just as amenable. As we go along, Lenny learns that facts are just as amenable as memories. When you can't trust the facts or the memories, what can you trust?
So, Memento. It was released in 2000. It is rated R, and it's an hour and 53 minutes. So I guess this was before they made 2 hour and 30-minute videos. Sorry. Yeah, movies. Jeez Louise. But I didn't mind it. It didn't seem long.
That's true.
Director was Christopher Nolan and writer was Christopher Nolan and Jonathan Nolan. And it stars Guy Pearce as Leonard, Carrie-Anne Moss as Natalie, Joe Battagliano as Teddy. Don't make fun of me.
Battagliano.
Georgia Fox as Leonard's wife, Stephen Tobolowsky. You know who he is. As Sammy Jenkins, and Harriet Sampson Harris is Mrs. Jenkins. So that's all kind of the main characters. And Larry Holden plays Jimmy because he got.
Oh, poor Jimmy.
Poor Jimmy.
I've actually been rewatching this show called Sons of Anarchy, and one of the main characters in Sons is also in this movie. So it's like, oh, that's him.
Oh, full circle.
Oh.
IMDb gave this an 8.5 out of 10.
Pretty good.
Pretty high.
I feel like Donnie Darko is like around that.
I think they were both the same. Let me double check real quick. We're gonna have a ranking. This one was an 8. Oh,
ooh,
Donnie Darko was an 8 out of 10. So technically, This one takes the cake. Rotten Tomatoes, the audience gave it a 94%.
Damn.
And the critics gave it a 93%. So they love this movie. They love this movie. So 10 out of 10.
I have good taste.
Well,
what can
9
I
out of
say?
10. We both have good taste.
That's true. Mine's just a little bit
Anyway,
better.
so I guess we'll get into it. I guess I'll start because I was the one who had watched the movie.
Oh, yeah. This was your first time watching it, right?
Yeah, my first time. I think I've seen bits and pieces, but not enough to remember, and I didn't know what was going on. Overall, it intrigued me. It intrigued me more in the first half than it did the second half. Because after a while, I was kind of like... But part of that might just be my impatience. Because sometimes I'm like, I get where we're going. Now, where are we going? I'm watching... Sorry, side note. I'm watching a show right now called The Leftovers on HBO.
Okay.
And long story short, the premise is there was some kind of a supernatural or weird event where certain people around the world just disappeared. They're just gone. They're like off the face of the earth. And when I say disappeared, I mean it was like you'd be right here and then I look and you're gone. Like you poofed. You didn't go anywhere.
Like Thanos.
Yes. And I'm watching that show and I like the show, but good God, it's so slow. I'm trying here. But anyway, I wouldn't say this movie is slow. But I guess towards the end I was kind of like, okay, like where are we going with this? Because it was a lot of... Once I realized that we see stuff in the future and then they throw us back, I'm like, great, we're gonna have to see how we got to this point again and again. But overall, I did like it. I was a little confused at the end. I'm sure that's kind of what they meant to do, though. Like I was getting it wasn't supposed to be some kind of actual conclusion. Yeah. Just at the end of it, he decides like, I'm gonna live my life the best that he possibly can. Yeah. I guess. He was like, I'm gonna steal this guy's car. He's like, well, he's a dead man. They're gonna be asking who you are. He's like, oh well, I'm not gonna know what's going on. But yeah, I liked it. I liked the acting. I thought the acting was good. Storyline was obviously unique. I mean, I heard it was a short story originally, and so they kind of turned into a feature length film. Yeah. So I guess that's my overall thoughts. What about you? Can you remember first watching it?
Can I remember first watching it? Yes. I remember being very mind blown. I was like, wow. That's crazy. But I remember just being a little confused about what was kind of going on. But I did remember really enjoying it, and I liked different aspects. Like there's a part where, the black and white scenes that are technically told in chronological order, when he's on the phone with somebody, there's a point where he's scratching at a new tattoo that he has, and then it says, don't answer the phone. And then he's like, oh shit, who is this? And then they hang up. I thought that part was so eerie when I first saw it. I was like, that is so creepy. It gives me vibes of like Get Out whenever he's upstairs walking around and we're downstairs and we see all the people like watching his footsteps. There's just something about things like that. They're not really related, I don't think, but it gives me I'm all over the place. I'm sorry. But yeah, overall, I did really enjoy it. I really enjoyed the mystery. I did like the way that the story was told. And yeah, I did like it a lot. Even now, I wasn't sure if I was going to love it. I haven't seen it in years, but yeah, I was still like, oh yeah, this is still a badass movie. The mystery is really cool, even though I kind of remember what's going on. And the way that it was told was really cool too. So yes.
I agree. I thought it was interesting. I thought that Natalie was going to be his wife or so. I was, every time I see a movie and I know there's going to be like a twist or something to it, I'm always like, I have to guess what it is and I need to be right. So first I was like, Natalie's the wife. And
never thought that
is like, I thought it might be a little too obvious, but I was like, maybe what he thinks happened didn't really happen. And now he's kind of like lost himself in something and she kind of watches him. But then as we find out, she was dating a drug dealer who just happened to just get got. By the police, but not the police, by Leonard, because the police officer just used him.
Oh, titty.
How exhausting.
Yeah.
The police officer just couldn't do it. I mean, I guess it's better if somebody else does it because then you have your hands clean.
Yeah, technically.
I guess, but it just seems very exhausting. Like you really have to lead this person. You have to do work.
A lot
of work.
But he was like, I thought it was funny messing with you. So
I was like, funny? This looks like a lot of work and time and effort and you keep popping up.
He's bored.
He was very bored. Anyway, so that was just crazy. But I just couldn't imagine literally living like that because not even 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
That girl, Natalie, walked out.
That part was so crazy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. He like hit her and she's like, I'll be back. He's like,
write it down.
I need a pen. I'm like, she made sure there was a pen in that house. She came back in. I said, wow. Yep. So I guess
who did that to you? Who?
So she ended up getting revenge on behalf of her man.
Yes.
Trying to get, what's his name?
Teddy.
Trying to get Teddy, and she had him try to kill Dodd. Because I guess Dodd. What did Dodd have to do with it?
He was just one of Jimmy's associates. So Jimmy was a drug dealer, and he was trying to figure out where the money was, what the drugs were, and everything like that.
Oh, and Dot thought it was like her. Okay, that's why. So she was using him too. So did she hate him? Because he technically killed her man, Jimmy. So it's like she hated him, but she truly understood that he doesn't know what's going on. So it's almost like she didn't hate him because she would look at him all longingly. Yeah. I don't know. And then she would like kiss him and be like, "You're gonna be my, like, you could be my best friend, my lover." I was like, "Okay, ma'am, what do you want out of this?"
Not her being like, "The reason why you're like this is because your wife was a whore." I was like, "Oh, that is so rude."
No, he should have killed her for that. I'm not gonna lie.
That was a lot. She said she sucked too many diseased dicks. Leonard, get your friend. Anyways.
But yeah, that was pretty crazy. Yeah. But I did like that little twist that she ended up being kind of evil. Did I really buy her as a drug dealer girlfriend? Not really. That's the only thing I wasn't getting. Maybe
that's the good thing though, because she's not supposed to know about the drugs, and so she's over here sneaking around. No, she's not supposed to know. Like for the cops. I don't know. I just feel like they're trying to make her seem like some rough bartender girl with drug dealer history past, and I was just like, I wasn't buying it from her. She was too. Even when she was all trying to be angry, I was like, she's too regal with her actions. I'm not getting like rough around the edges, unless they're just trying to throw you off, and that's kind of, because if she looked rough the whole time, you might be like, ooh. Yeah, you can't trust her, right?
Can't trust her because you can't trust people rough around the edges, obviously.
Never.
But yeah, that was interesting. And in the end, I was completely confused. I had to look it up a little bit because I was like, wait, is Sammy real? Sammy not real? And from what I've gathered, they say that Sammy is real. Yeah. But then another article said, the whole point of the movie is like, you don't really know what's going on.
That's true.
So I'm like, that's true. Is anything real? I guess we don't really know. We know a little bit. Like I think Teddy was using Leonard or Lenny. I think Natalie was too. And I think that's kind of the gist of it. And that's all that we really get. Like that's an actual thing. But I guess the things up in the air was, is Sammy a real person? Is Sammy not a real person? And then is his wife dead or not? I mean, I think it's safe to assume she is, but we discussed
who
this.
Killed her?
Oh yeah, that's the question. Did he project Sammy's actions as actually his own, and she ended up kind of having Lenny kill her because she was so just distraught or wanted to test him, blah blah who, or did she really die during the attack? Like you just don't really know. But I guess the gist of it is him and his journey. They also talked about, in the article, that he just kind of does this to keep his revenge alive because he keeps forgetting about it, and it's almost like a way to never forget. Is you always leave clues, or that's what Teddy said. Teddy's like, you just leave clues for yourself. He's like, you don't stop. It's almost like he wants to keep going.
That's what kind of happened. But how can you keep going after you got someone's driver's license tattooed on you? Like I feel like after that, then you're like, oh well, he's already dead. Oh, so that's it.
I don't know, unless you keep forgetting he's dead.
Yeah, but like,
and then it's this never-ending circle.
I just thought it was funny that his first two facts was like white male.
I was like, he was like, that's very the guy. I was like, I would have been like, it could be any white male.
It really could.
There's so many.
But I think it's kind of cool because like it's not just those people who are using him. He also is using himself in a way where he's manipulating what he remembers in a way. So he took out the pieces, well, for to believe Teddy, but on his picture it says don't believe his lies. But if we're supposed to believe him, then he took out those pages from the police report. He's the one who's setting up the clues for the next time around, knowing that he'll forget. Yeah. So it's cool to see that it's not just the outside forces that are like making him do all the dirty work. It was also him, because he doesn't want to live in a world where he hasn't done the revenge yet, I guess he wants to live in a world where he can still be the hero, where he can still kind of redeem something, even though he already has. And that's like what a lot of people were asking him. They're like, well, even if you kill the right guy, how will you know? You won't remember it.
You won't remember. That's true. Unless you tattoo, it's done.
I killed him. That's what he put on his chest.
Yeah. It's kind of like a never-ending
You're going
thing.
to jail. Like you're putting all the evidence.
The teardrop. The teardrop. And you're like,
he's the one who started it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize when I first watched this, because I was younger, but now there's like so much sadness and grief in this movie. And it's just like, it's so true. If you can't remember how much time has passed, how can you ever really heal any wounds? Because that's what they say. All time heals all wounds or whatever. I don't think that was correct, but it was something similar.
No, they did. They touched on that because
Yeah.
you could tell that he was kind of tired, but it was like he had to do this because, he already did it. He just kept going. And even the girl or Natalie at one point at the diner was like, well, if you kill him, you're just going to forget. So what's the point of you doing all this if you're literally just going to forget?
Yeah.
And he was like, because it doesn't matter if I forget or not. Revenge is revenge. And I was like, yeah, true. But I guess it's kind of more, or you know how it's like that thing where somebody dies and then it's people trying to move on.
Yeah.
But they feel like they can't move on because they need to do something or they can't let go. But so it's really less about the person that passed, but more of what like the remaining left over and like now what do they do to heal? Because even if you don't have short-term memory loss, I think a lot of people can still act like that or be in that mindset of like they can't forget. They just have this drive, this blind drive to do something and they never get to really heal. So I don't know if it was also just touching on that. Obviously this is more extreme because he has short-term memory, but if you think about it, some people, they have a hard time letting go, and it is hard. No one's saying it's not, but especially that traumatic, if you come out and your wife has been raped and murdered, that's and you were there and you feel like you could have stopped it, and then you got hit with a traumatic brain injury, like listen, that's tough. But it is kind of like, when do you just find peace? Because even the Teddy, he was like in the car. He's like, well, you don't even know who you are. And he's like, I know who I am. I'm this. He's like, but who are you now?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's the whole thing of, you know, kind of moving on and coming to terms, which I think he did at the end. He seemed to be like, you know what? You're right.
At the
This
beginning,
is a lot.
technically.
The beginning of the end. He grabbed his stuff and was like, I'm stealing this car. And I'm just going to chill and vibe out.
No, he wasn't. That's how he ended up killing
about?
Teddy.
No, at the end.
Yes,
when he drove off.
Yes, that's the beginning.
I might have missed a little bit.
No, he wasn't vibing out. He was setting up the next John G mystery, and that ended up being Teddy. So you know how in the beginning Teddy is getting killed.
Yes.
Yeah, that's technically
I
the
see what
end.
you're saying. Okay, so now does he get to rest?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, can you continue doing a mystery when you have so many facts that are permanent on your body? So you can't like misplace a page. You have someone's whole driver's license on your leg. So how do you move on now? Because like you can't keep.
It's done.
Yeah. So I don't know what he's
Or
gonna do.
just get
after
tattoo
that.
laser removal. I just put reminders.
He said, take that off.
He said, I need all these removed, sir. It's gonna kill me
gonna
eventually.
start
This
over.
is not gonna end up good for me, please.
So yeah, it was, he came to peace with the fact that he will never know if the guy got killed or not.
But he can know that Teddy got it. And in a way, Teddy was almost, because he was like, my name's John G. I'm like, why did you give him the name of
I don't
yourself?
know. He was like, he's gonna forget anyways.
Boy, he was like, everybody's name is John something G. I'm like, no, not everybody at all.
You're wrong. There's plenty of white
And that's
males.
why you got killed, because you decided to pick a name that's your name, right? And then got killed in the end because he found out Teddy's real name and was like, that's the guy I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I'm like, why did Teddy tell him that the guy he wants to kill is literally his legal name?
Well, he never really thought that was he never saw him as a threat. Like there's multiple times at the point when he killed Jimmy in the beginning where he had the gun in his face and he's like, maybe I'll kill you. And he's like, dude, stop. Anyways.
He really did. He said, okay, put it down.
Anyways.
I was like,
Yeah. I mean, Teddy's so complicated though, because if he was there from the beginning and he was the one who picked up the case and believed Leonard that there was a second man in there, and he was the one who helped him find the original
if
John
that story
G.
is even true.
If that is true, then it's like exhausting to think that you have to continue resetting this mystery for the same person over and over again and just kill. And that's why
Just
he was
different
finding
people.
like bad John G's to kill. So that's why Jimmy got killed, because he's a drug dealer, blah blah blah. So I really
I hope he found peace.
I don't think he did.
No.
And he never will. Like, why is he tormenting himself with the prostitute? I'm sorry, the escort. Let me not say prostitute. I guess that's outdated.
Sex worker?
Yeah. The sex worker.
There you go.
Yeah. Like, he tormented himself with that lady and was like,
I thought he was trying to like jog his memory, but Maybe not. I thought
I
he
don't
was like,
know.
I thought he was recreating the night, and he's like, I need you to slam the door.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought he was recreating the night to maybe like bring back his memories of that specific night. That's what I thought he was doing.
But it seems so traumatic. Like that's
the whole thing is traumatic.
the part whenever Natalie was like, "Oh, what's the last thing you remember?" He's like, "My wife." She's like, "That's sweet." Dying.
She's like,
Oh,
yes.
maybe I spoke too soon.
Yeah.
But like that's the last memory that you have is your wife dying, and you're trying to recreate the scene of the night that she died because if she wasn't murdered that night, then Lenny actually did kill her.
Yeah. Or she killed herself with the insulin. That was traumatic. I was like,
that was so sad.
not her face. She was like,
"You're gonna still do this?"
perhaps. So she killed herself or had herself assisted in that because it was kind of like her last attempt at bringing him back. And since it didn't work, she was like, later days.
Yeah. Because it's just like the mental illness aspect of it, where a lot of people feel like, oh, well, they can just snap back and be the same old person that they were. But it's not always that simple. And she obviously didn't understand that. And then like the whole story with Leonard being like, oh, well, like he should, like nothing's stopping him physically from doing it. So he should still be able to make memories. And she's like, all right, we'll try.
We're going to see if he kills me. He said, a time again?
Okay.
She was like, it's like, it's not gonna hurt, silly. She was like, that was sad.
It was very sad.
But I like how it also shows the other aspect, like the person affected by it. Because you have the person who's going through it, who's obviously affected like the most because it's their whole life. But the people, their caretakers, and the people who have to look after them, just because he even said she would try kind of weird things that seemed
like
morally wrong.
Food and stuff like that.
But he's saying she wasn't doing it out of, malice. It was more of just her desperation of trying to figure it out and bring him back. So I thought that was kind of sad because you just see how it affects other people's lives too. And all she wanted was to figure out what was going on. And then at the end, when she came to ask him like his honest opinion, and he still kind of not lied about it, but kind of beat around the bush or didn't really fully go.
He didn't give her his honest answer.
Yes.
Which was like, I don't think he's faking it.
Yeah, basically. He's like, I didn't say he didn't, but
Yeah.
So
he had to do that legal
she was
jump.
just like, okay, well, I don't want to be here. I'm like, just put that man in an old folks home. It was so sad that like he doesn't even know his wife died. Like his such a short-term memory that like it's all just like one day, huh?
Yeah.
Like, does it ever feel like it's not a day?
That's just,
I know people do have short-term memory loss, but I wonder if it's ever that extreme.
I don't know. That's an interesting.
I don't see why it wouldn't be. Like if you're the part of your brain that collects memories or the short-term memories, if it gets damaged, like that would be a big problem.
Yeah. I wonder, because like, could you just like not remember why you're running like Leonard did that one time when he was running?
He was like, I'm chasing him. No,
He's chasing me.
Oh yeah, or he just like he literally just sat there with a bottle of wine. He's like, I don't feel drunk.
Yeah.
And he put it down. He's like, what am I doing? I don't know how he got anything
And then
done.
took a shower. Yeah. I don't know how he was able to get the vengeance the first time.
I would literally just record myself. And as soon as I'm like, where am I? I'd stop the video, record back. That's
there we
what
go.
we were doing.
There
That's
we go.
what was going on.
Yeah.
But
I feel like it's a very big metaphor for grief and healing and everything like that. And just being stuck in a mindset of where that grief is really keeping you down, where you can't move on. That's where I feel like Leonard was. That's where Sammy's wife was. Like she could not let go of her old Sammy. And it's beautiful in the way that it's painful. Because now that I'm like falling more in love with my man, I'm like, damn, one day like one of us is going to die first.
impossible.
And I'm like, hopefully
Never
it's me,
that.
because I don't want that.
No, I'm like, he needs to go first because he needs to let me know somehow from the other side. Like,
How
do I
things
gotta
went.
repent real quick? Like, what I gotta do? You gotta signal.
True. But it's just like, I couldn't imagine like going through my whole life thinking that I'm waking up and they're going to be in bed next to me, or like, but also having the memory of like my significant other dying, like, and that's the only memory, like the last memory that you have of them is that. And it's just, I couldn't imagine going through that. It's so sad.
That's very sad. Especially somebody who, like, they're still there.
Yeah.
Like dementia. Because that's what it kind of reminded me of. At least Sammy specifically. Like when
Yeah.
people go through Alzheimer's or dementia. I'm not sure if those are the same or one and the same or one's a symptom of the other. So my bad. But it's like you see people and they don't remember who you are. They get really angry or they get kind of scared because they don't know where they are. And you just kind of slowly watch them basically fade. Like they've almost died in a sense, but their physical body's still here, but it's like their mind and soul's not here. So that's what it reminded me as well. It's like caring for someone and being really upset that they're here but they're not here. Sad.
Who knew this movie was so depressing?
It's so deep and depressing. And the writer's like, no, not at all. We just wanted to see if it'd be cool.
Right.
That's how I got out of it. Yeah, definitely a lot of grief and kind of like, is it better to just, or even that thing, what is it? Ignorance is bliss.
Very much so.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Just not knowing, you're just happier. Because knowing makes things more difficult. So it's kind of like, is it also a blessing that he can just kind of, but that's the problem. He remembers the attack. So it's not like he can forget the attack. So that's the only thing.
And that's the last thing he remembers.
Yeah, that's like, because I'm like, if he didn't remember the attack and he can kind of just like maybe forget a lot of stuff, that'd be great. But since he technically remembers the attack, that's not something that you can just like be ignorant to. But it seems like everything else he can be. So I don't know how you would, I don't know. He needs to go to
Therapy.
Get some medicine. I don't think they have medicine for that. But
Probably not. It is a depressing movie.
Or did we just make it a depressing movie?
I think it is just a depressing movie. But it's also like your reality is what you want it to be kind of thing. Like, so we'll never know if Leonard was really pinching his wife or if he was giving her a shot. I mean, I don't know how many times I'm sitting on the bed and my man pinched me on my thigh. I'd be like, ew.
It's a little random. She's like, ow.
Yeah.
He was like, haha. Like,
What was the point? What happened after that?
To confuse us.
Yeah, exactly.
Plot.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, oh yeah, or do we know how real was Sammy? Like, I think Sammy was a real person because he clearly remembers him because it was before. Yeah. But I feel like there was a lot of projecting going on.
And I wonder, because with Sammy, you couldn't condition him into learning something. But what Teddy said at the end was that you've conditioned yourself so much to believe that Sammy's story is Sammy's story and not really your story. So I wonder if that is possible because, like, if we have Sammy and Leonard being the same thing or having the same thing, wouldn't it be kind of impossible for Leonard to be conditioned into believing that Sammy's story is Sammy's story and not his own? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I also think it's kind of like, I feel like he was talking about himself in the past because he's like, before, Sammy couldn't do this, 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 and this. And he was like, I'm not like Sammy. He
did say that a lot.
Because I feel like Sammy was kind of him in the past, like before his wife did the insulin situation. Yeah. And maybe once that event took place, it's like kind of snapped in him. And he is now trying to separate himself from like, well, the old me, aka Sammy, was this and that, and I would never. I'm much better. I'm much smarter. I write things down. You know, it was like it gave him some kind of a internal driver push to really remember.
That's true.
So that's what I'm thinking, maybe. But then again, I was like, I don't know the line of what. Maybe Sammy was an actual con man, just kind of like Teddy said. Although we don't know what Teddy's saying is true or not. But
right. Teddy is scandalous.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, at least from the movie perspective, and I know how people write movies, it was obviously a very significant story. And of course, they always filmed it in black and white. So I feel like it really was him taking an internal look at himself. So I feel like Sammy was probably somebody who was like in the insurance and maybe they were trying to scam the system a little bit. And maybe when he went through what he went through, he kind of just attached that story or the worst parts about his situation and gave it to Sammy
instead of himself.
Yeah, and then projected the wife of Sammy or Sammy's wife as his wife, and he kind of processed like that. But he distances himself from that. Maybe
I like that theory.
We'll have to ask Christopher Nolan himself
or his brother who wrote the story.
Yes.
Yeah, from his story, from the short story, what we read earlier is that Leonard escaped from a mental asylum, and so
you really don't know what's going on.
Yeah, like they think that it was more of the
okay.
They think that he was Sammy, basically.
Oh, okay.
That was proof that was Sammy.
Got it. So that was more of the short story.
Well, my rating. Should you go first? You should go first.
I'll go first. I give this a 3 out of 10. Wait,
that was really
3
low.
out of 5. I don't know why I jumped. It was a horrible film. No. I think I give it a 3 out of 5. I did like it. I did like the unique storyline. I like the depths of like just exploring grief and different, topics as such. But I will say it did get a little bit dragging on for me towards the end. I didn't feel like it was a super long movie, but I think I was kind of ready for the plot to start kind of, gallop along a little bit faster. But other than that, like I thought it was a good movie, good acting. I liked how they did go back and forth. Even though at the end I was like, let's get to the future because I'm impatient. So that might just be me. But I did like how you would see a scene and then you go back in time, see how you got to that scene. But then, so it kind of took you almost like you were in the mind of him. Exactly. So you didn't know what was going on. Yeah, you're getting bits and pieces. So I did appreciate that. I thought that was really cool. Yeah. What about you?
I gave this movie a 4.5 out of 5.
Wow, 4.5.
Yeah, I really fuck with it. I think it's so unique in the way that, well, what the story is and the way that it's told. And it's interesting too. So if we take in the fact that Lenny might have been Sammy, that he did kill his wife with insulin, so really the killer is him. I don't really like things like that where it's like, oh, like this whole time we thought there was like some grand mystery, but really it was just me the whole time.
Like
I didn't
Island.
know.
Did you ever see that?
Yeah. I usually don't like things like that, but I did like it in this aspect because you also don't really know if it is true or if it isn't. And Leonard doesn't even care. He's like, fuck it, I'm gonna start again, and we're gonna kill Teddy this time. I did really enjoy it the first time, and I was very confused, and I was trying to figure out the mystery. I really enjoy where we can try to pick up on what's going on a little bit, but then at the end we're like, oh, I'm still a little confused. Was this Sammy or was this Lenny? We don't know. But yeah, I really like the deeper topics of like grief, of mental illness, of what is reality. Reality is what you want it to be kind of thing. And yeah, I just thought it was a really well done. I don't really know if it was dragging or not because I split it up in between 2 watches because Tristan has to go to bed at 10. He gets home at 7, goes to bed at 10. That poor man. He has no life.
Wow. And he has to deal with you for those 3 hours.
He loves it. So I had to split it up, but I didn't really pick it up on it being dragging or not. But it was cool to see like how little scenes we were getting. Like it was like a very short scene of them in color, and then we would go into a longer scene of them being in black and white, and then it merged together towards the end. But yeah, I don't know if it's real or not, but I think they have a version where it's like told in chronological order.
Never that. No one wants that. Nobody wants that chronological
Maybe it
version.
is. Who knows? But yeah, I really did enjoy it.
Yes. And I will say it's probably me just being a little dramatic with my impatience. So
maybe
it was fine. Because I mean, it was all relative information, but I was like, oh my God, what's going on?
That was a good thing about it. It's like I felt like nothing was unnecessary.
Yeah, I will give it that. It wasn't that bad. Yeah. Other stuffs I feel really drag. So I wouldn't say this is a super drag. So I don't want to say all that. I am an impatient person, and I'm more like I just want to get to the end. But I will say before we go, I liked how other kind of what you're saying. Other movies, it doesn't work, especially when they leave you on the edge. I hate movies that kind of leave you hanging. I feel like it's such a annoying way to go. A lot of horror films do this. Like, oh, it's just like a cheap throw in the end sometimes. But I feel like it actually made sense for this one because you're literally following the character who has short-term memory. So us not knowing what's going on in the end perfectly fits with the character. But I feel like we got just enough of a closure to be like, well, we know that guy dies. So we're good. But I will say that because I feel like a lot of movies just try to get you at the end and they're like, gotcha. Is it or is it not? And I'm like, I didn't spend 2 hours and 30 minutes watching this for you to tell me is it or is it not? Or my favorite, it's up to your interpretation. No, shut up. Shut up. Figure out what you're writing. I don't want to interpret it myself. That's why I watched it. I make movies in my head all day. It's so annoying because then it doesn't mean, if it can mean anything, then it means nothing.
Oof.
It's true.
Don't take her to a museum.
Don't take me to a poetry slam. But no, it's true. I hate when they do that.
Yeah.
They're always like, well, I leave it up to the interpretation of the watcher. No, what were you doing? You meant like it some way.
Even with this being a little bit of like up to your interpretation, it works because it's we've been with Leonard this whole time. We basically are feeling the same way that Leonard is, and so it's up for his interpretation too.
Exactly. That's why I was like, it worked here because it was relevant to the character,
and not just because they're lazy with the writing.
Yeah, or just trying to make a. I don't know why they do that. It's kind of like what happens? I'm like, it only works with certain movies. But I think most movies, when it's kind of like I did like Inception. They kind of did a little bit. I think they did it in a good way because that kind of went with the movie. The whole movie is like they're jumping into the consciousness of the consciousness and like at the end. And actually, they told you, if you look it up, you can find out what it really is. So it's not like they are, it's up to, no. They're like, no, we gave you these hints, like you can figure it out. Great. Awesome.
Yeah, I think that it ended up being in like a dream, right?
Yep. And I knew it was a dream because the kids were the same damn age, in the same damn dream. The kids are literally playing "Daddy, I'm like, there's still 3. He said he's been gone for like 7 years.
Yeah.
That's what I was like. That's how I knew.
Yeah.
But I think they gave it was something about his wedding band too.
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that. But that's stuff I like. If you're gonna at least be like, oh, I feel like give me some hints in the movie.
Right.
Give me something to go off of, because I hate, the horror movie ends and they're like, we're free, and then you see the hand. Except Cabin in the Woods was good.
Yeah.
Not that one. I'm not talking about you, Cabin in the Woods. That was a great movie.
She loves it.
But all the other ones, stop it. So if you're writing a movie and you're thinking about doing some kind of an ending where,
go ahead and do
what
it.
is it? No, don't do that.
Do it.
Don't. I need you to take me somewhere. This is a story. What's the story? What's the tea? What's the tea, sis?
I feel like we talked about it earlier, but I think Leonard is, what's his name? Sammy. Yeah. I think that's true. I think he projected that story onto Sammy, so he wouldn't have to take the blame, and knowing that he was the one who killed him or killed her wife.
Because that would, he got to kill himself.
Huh?
Who killed my wife? Sir?
Me? No.
The tea. I'm sorry. I make all that too. I didn't kill her. It was that evil man.
Mm-hmm. That white male with a name either Jimmy or John or Jacob Jingleheimer Smith. I don't know.
They were done.
But yeah, I feel like there was a clue, because there was a part where he did see his wife that was like suffocating underneath the thing. She blinked before we got the confirmation that she might have lived. So I think that kind of proves.
Yeah, and then she do a break. She like you thought she was dead and she wasn't. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Is she alive?
Leonard don't know what
I
the fuck
think
going
so.
on. He think that woman dead.
Honestly, and sometimes people block stuff out for a traumatic event anyway. So I could imagine that
too.
along with his short-term memory, that man blacked out. He's like, I don't know what's going on. Last thing I know is I didn't do it. I gotta find the one who did.
True.
And in the
Unless
end,
it's not true. In this case, it probably wasn't. You did do it, Lenny.
no.
You're a bad guy.
Yeah, I was literally like, what if he just did it all? He really brutally murdered his wife and he was an abusive husband and he just couldn't remember.
That would be dark.
That would be very dark. There's a couple things like that. I can't remember the movie, but there was one movie where the whole time you think he's a good guy and he ends up just being a really terrible guy, but he like lost his memory.
Damn.
You're like, ooh, sir, I'm not on your side anymore. I was with you. But now I'm not.
Well,
But anyway,
if you like
Mentos,
if you like things that I had something.
if you like short-term memory,
That's what I was trying to work off of, but it doesn't work. If you have short-term memory,
sure, we're going with that.
if you struggle with having, what do you say about yourself all the time?
ADD.
No. If you don't have the patience to sit through long things, then you'll love our Instagram at Haley and Kayli.
Yes, you will.
You'll
Where are we going
also,
with that?
I'm closing up.
Oh, yes, our Instagram. Very short.
Yes. And also, can I close?
Sorry, continue.
And you'll also love our TikTok, which you can find at Press Podcast. We also have a website at presspodcast.com where you can find our blogs and our podcasts. What else do we have?
You can also find us on YouTube. If you're watching us, you're already here. If not, you can find us at Haley and Kayli on YouTube. We also have an email. So if you want to email us at presspodcast@gmail.com, and you can email what you thought about the movie, movies we should review, things of that nature. You can also find our podcast on all places, platforms, your favorite, Spotify, we got iTunes, we got all the other ones. Go there.
Right.
At Press Pod. Are we Haley Kayli now?
No, it's Press Podcast.
At Press Podcast.
You can also let us know.
You can also let us know. What accent was that?
I don't know. You can also let us know in the comments down below what you thought about this movie. If you liked it, if you hated it, how could you hate my favorites? Anyways, let us know what your favorite one is too.